You ever feel like everyone else got the manual on how to live, and you didn't? Let me tell you a story. It starts with a kid. Not just any kid. A kid who was always told they were smart, special, gifted. The kind of kid who didn't just do well in school. They floated through it. They aced tests. They impressed adults. They were called brilliant, more times than they could count. People said they were going places. And for a while, that felt like a superpower, until it didn't. See? That kid? They grew up, and things got complicated. The praise stopped. The world expected more, but life didn't come with a cheat sheet anymore. And suddenly that kid, now an adult, was stuck. Not just in life, but in their own head. Because somewhere along the way, being smart became who they were. Their identity. Their entire sense of worth. And when life got hard, and it always does, they didn't know how to cope. They weren't just struggling with tasks or goals, they were struggling with themselves. And here's the thing, this isn't rare. This is common. A lot of so-called smart kids grow up and find themselves feeling empty, disconnected, and chronically overwhelmed, without being able to explain why. And the hardest part? From the outside, everything still looks fine. They still seem clever, still capable, still together. But inside, it's a different story. There's a quiet kind of loneliness that creeps in. A constant sense that you're observing life, not living it. Like everyone else got the script, and you're just improvising. So let's talk about why that happens, and how to heal it. Because this isn't about failure. It's about a survival strategy that outlived its purpose. As kids, we form identities around whatever gets us love, attention, or validation. For some kids, it's sports. For others, it's being funny. But for the smart kid, it's intelligence. Being smart becomes their golden ticket. It gets them praise, recognition, approval. And the best part? It feels effortless. They don't have to grind like others. They're used to succeeding without really trying. But that's where the trap gets set. Because the praise they get isn't really for trying. It's for being naturally good, effortless, impressive. So what happens when something isn't easy? What happens when they finally hit a wall? When a class gets hard? When a job doesn't make sense right away? When a relationship gets complicated? Suddenly, the belief they built their whole identity on, if I'm smart, things should be easy for me, starts to crack. And instead of seeing challenge as normal, they see it as failure, as a threat. So they start avoiding it. They don't raise their hand unless they're sure. They don't try new things unless they know they'll succeed. They don't speak up unless they've rehearsed the whole conversation in their head. They trade growth for safety, exploration for certainty, connection for control. And life gets smaller. While other people are out there learning through trial and error, failing and adjusting, the former smart kid is stuck in a shrinking comfort zone. And that comfort zone becomes a cage. Now let's talk about connection. Because it turns out, you can't build relationships from inside a cage. Real connection happens when we try things together. When we join clubs, play games, take risks, laugh, mess up, get embarrassed, recover. It's messy. And that's the point. But the smart kid, now the smart adult, is afraid of mess. Because mess threatens the image. So they stay on the sidelines. They sit out. They watch. And they wait until they're ready. Until they're sure they won't look stupid. Until they can control the outcome. But that day never comes. So they wait. And they miss out. And the loneliness gets louder. But here's the twist. Even when they do show up, they're not really there. Because now, social interaction isn't something they enjoy. It's something they have to be good at. They analyze every moment, every word, every reaction. They simulate conversations in their head like a chess match. They monitor themselves so closely, they forget to just be. This is called cognitive empathy. You understand how people feel, but you don't feel with them. You're connected, but only intellectually. And it's exhausting, so you pull back even more. Not because you want to, but because it's just too much. And then the mind kicks in. It tells you, I'm just different. People don't get me. I'm too deep, too complex, too smart to relate to surface-level stuff. And it feels protective, like you're choosing solitude. But let's be honest, that's not confidence. That's a defense mechanism. It's not superiority. It's loneliness wearing a crown. We call it defensive arrogance. And it's the final wall between you and the world. Because it's easier to feel above people than to admit you feel invisible to them. So, how do we undo this? The first step, the non-negotiable one, is this. You have to let go of the smart kid identity. Not because intelligence is bad, but because tying your worth to your intellect is a trap. As long as you believe your value comes from being effortlessly exceptional, you'll keep avoiding anything that challenges that. You'll fear failure more than you crave growth. You'll trade real progress for the appearance of perfection. And eventually, that illusion will break. So instead, you build a new identity. Not around being smart, but around being willing to grow. That means asking, what will help me move forward? Not, what will make me look impressive? It means being awkward, being unsure, letting yourself try things and be bad at them. It means participating instead of performing. And yeah, it'll feel like a step backward. But it's actually your first step toward being whole. Because the old identity told you your worth came from being special. The new one, it reminds you your worth comes from being human. And being human means you're allowed to be unsure, grow slowly, feel lost, not know what the hell you're doing. But you show up anyway. Not perfectly, not brilliantly, just honestly. Because real belonging doesn't come from being impressive. It comes from being present. So if any of this hit home, if you've ever wondered why you feel stuck, numb, disconnected, if you've spent your whole life trying to be the smartest person in the room and now don't know how to be anything else, this is your moment. Let go of the script. Stop trying to win. Start trying to be. Because you don't need to be extraordinary to connect. You just need to be here, show up, messy, human, real. And you'll find something you've been craving all along. Not applause, not validation, belonging. Not because you earned it, not because you proved yourself, but because you finally stepped down from the pedestal and rejoined the world, where the rest of us are. And you know what? It's not so bad down here. In fact, it might just feel like coming home.